David and Solomon is far less glorious than the Bible describes.
So David and Solomon did not rule over a big territory. It was a small chiefdom, if you wish, with just a few settlements, very poor, the population was limited, there was no manpower for big conquests and so on and so forth.
This would make David a petty warlord ruling over a chiefdom, and his royal capital Jerusalem nothing more than a cow town.
These are the results of the radiocarbon dating. He or she who decide to ignore these results, I treat them as if arguing that the world is flat, that the earth is flat, and I cannot argue anymore.
But it's not so simple. Other teams collected radiocarbon samples following the same meticulous methodology. According to their results, Mazar's palace and Tapi's alphabet can date to the 10th century, the time of David and Solomon. How can this discrepancy be explained? The problem is that these radiocarbon dates have a margin of error of plus or minus 30 years, about the difference between the two sides. Pottery and radiocarbon dating alone cannot determine if the kingdom of David and Solomon was as large and prosperous as described in the Bible. Fortunately, the Bible offers clues of other places to dig for evidence of this kingdom. The Bible credits David with conquering the kingdom, but it is Solomon, his son, who is the great builder.
This was the purpose of the forced labor which Solomon imposed. It was to build the house of Yahweh and the wall of Jerusalem, Hatzor, Megiddo, and Gezer. 1 Kings 9:15.
Here in Hatzor, Amnon Ben-Tor, director of excavations, believes this may be evidence of Solomon's building campaign. Archaeologists call it a six-chambered gate, a massive entryway fortified with towers and guardrooms. Ben-Tor's predecessor, Yigal Yadin, first uncovered this structure.
It turned out to be a six-chambered gate, and Yadin immediately remembered that a very, very similar gate was excavated at Gezer, and then Chicago University excavated this gate here at Megiddo.
Stunned by the similarity of these three gates, Yadin recalled the passage in the Bible.
Here we have a wonderful connection of the biblical passage as it shows up in archaeology.
Three monumental gates, all based on the same plan, would seem to be powerful evidence not only of prosperity, but also of a central authority. Throughout its history, the Israelites had been divided into tribes, then into kingdoms, north and south. The locations of these strikingly similar gates in both regions suggest a single governing authority throughout the land. But how can we be sure this is the kingdom of David and Solomon? The answer, once again, lies in Egypt.
The head-smiting scene which you see on this wall commemorates a military campaign conducted by Pharaoh Shishak, or Sheshonq, the founder of Dynasty 22 in Egypt.
The Egyptian pharaoh Shishak invades Israel, an event the Bible reports and specifically dates to 5 years after Solomon's death, during the reign of his son Rehoboam.
In the 5th year of King Rehoboam, King Shishak of Egypt marched against Jerusalem and carried off the treasures of the house of Yahweh and the treasures of the royal palace. He carried off everything. 1 Kings 14, 25 and 26.
The importance of this in fixing one of the earliest dates, specific dates, in which Egyptian history coincides with biblical history is really startling and has to be taken note of.
This stunning convergence between the Bible and Egyptian history gives a firm date for the death of Solomon. Shishak's campaign, according to the well-established Egyptian chronology, dates to 925 BC. And the Bible says Solomon dies 5 years earlier, which means 930 BC. This is further evidence that David and Solomon lived in the 10th century. But there's even more hidden in these walls. These ovals, with their depictions of bound captives and city walls, represent places Pharaoh Shishak conquered in Israel. One of those places is Gezer, where archaeologists find the hallmark of Solomon's building program, a 6-chambered gate. Bill Deaver directed the excavations in the late 1960s.
We can actually see vivid evidence here of a destruction. Down below we have the original stones pretty much in situ, but if you look in here you see the stones are badly cracked. You can even see where they're burned from the heat of a huge fire that has been built here. And then up in here you see the fire has been so intense that the soft limestone has melted into lime and it flows down like lava. This is vivid evidence of a destruction, and we would connect that with this well-known raid of Pharaoh Shishak.
And if the gate was destroyed by Shishak in 925 BC, then it must have been built during the lifetime of Solomon, who died just 5 years earlier.
Surely this kind of monumental architecture is evidence of state formation. And if it's in the 10th century, then Solomon.
Although a minority of archaeologists continue to disagree, this convergence of the Bible, Egyptian chronology, and Solomon's gates is powerful evidence that a great kingdom existed at the time of David and Solomon, spanning all of Israel, north and south, with its capital in Jerusalem. But Jerusalem is more than a political center. It is the center of worship.
The magic of Jerusalem is the magic of the temple. One temple for the one God. The result is that Jerusalem and the temple emerge as powerful symbols not just of the oneness of God, but also of the oneness of the Jewish people.
The worship of the ancient Israelites bears little resemblance to Judaism today. It centered around the temple, built by David's son Solomon, and seen as Yahweh's earthly dwelling. To understand how the ancient Israelites worshiped their God, scholars must discover what the temple looked like and how it functioned. But although archaeologists know where its remains should be, it is impossible to dig there. It lies under the third holiest site in Islam, which includes the Dome of the Rock. Not a stone of Solomon's temple has ever been excavated. But the Bible offers a remarkably detailed description.
The house which King Solomon built for Yahweh was 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. In the inner sanctuary, he made 2 cherubim, each 10 cubits high. He overlaid the cherubim with gold. 1 Kings 6, 2, 23 and 28.